is Classic FM.
So I'm having a very interesting day meeting people at the Musical Brain Conference today. And Lindsey, I've been so excited about meeting you. This is Lindsey Dryden. Now, Lindsey, you've just made a documentary stroke film called Lost and Sound. Tell me a bit about it and also the inspiration for it.
Okay. Lost and Sound is a feature-length documentary about deafness, music and the brain and what happens to music if you can't necessarily hear it ordinarily. I'm partially deaf. I'm a filmmaker by trade, and a few years ago I was diagnosed with a condition that might explain why I lost the hearing in one ear when I was a child. And they also said, well, it might migrate into your other ear at some point, which I found terrifying because the thing that I'd be most frightened of losing is music. So I started to investigate what might happen to music if your hearing changes. Started doing science research, worked with some of the scientists from one of the first Musical Brain conferences in 2009, and also found 3 quite extraordinary people who are in the film, and we follow them over 2 years as they explore music and try to get it back after they've lost their hearing.
Tell me about the 3 different characters.
Okay. So there's 3 people in the film. One is Holly, who was 10 years old when we started filming with her. When she was a baby, she lost all of the hearing in both of her ears because of meningitis. Her parents are both professional musicians, so it was an extra element of difficulty for them because they wanted her to be able to access music. The other person in the film is Nick. He was a music critic, one of the leading music writers in the UK. Woke up one morning, suddenly one of his ears stopped working and he just couldn't perceive music anymore. It didn't make sense to him and it was painful, physically painful. And the third person in the film is Emily, who is a 21-year-old dancer. She was born profoundly deaf, has always had a lot of confidence, I think, a lot of support in going after whatever she wants to do. And she went to one of the best dance schools in the country and, the story follows her as well.
That sounds amazing. And obviously you've got partial hearing. How has that affected your life and perhaps your appreciation of music as well?
I've always been obsessed with music. I think, often people fall in love with music when they're a kid. You listen to tapes in your parents' car on long journeys, and it's something that becomes very, very important in your life, and it continues to be, and it always has been. I think my deafness means that I'm a bit more appreciative of being careful around loud noises, so I'm not completely relaxed at gigs and festivals because there's always a little bit of you that has to take care, which is a bit dull. But I kind of think that, and the film definitely says that deafness doesn't have to be a negative thing. It can be an enriching experience. So because I'm partially deaf, I have to think about music in different ways, and it doesn't have to just be sound. And that's what I learned really through making the film. Music isn't just sound, it's vision, it's touch, it's imagination, it's memory, it's emotion, it's movement. It's far more than just what you hear, and I think that is helpful for me, and I think it's helpful for the people in the film and hopefully for people that watch it.
And finally, obviously you've really delved into these people's personal stories in your documentary. Did they affect you in any way on an emotional level? They must have.
Yeah. The thing about making the film was incredibly difficult, incredibly pleasurable, full of information. So I learnt a lot, which is useful for me in how I think about my own hearing. But the film isn't about me. I'm not in it. I'm not involved in the story. More than anything, I think you get a feeling of solidarity when you make a film like this with people. You have a similar experience, and all of your experiences enrich each other's. So we all came away, I think, learning more and knowing people who have something in common that's quite unusual. Less unusual than you'd think, because 1 in 7 of us have some kind of hearing problem, but it was an incredibly rewarding experience for me just to spend time with those people because they're fascinating and they've done extraordinary things. So,
as have you.
Wow, thanks.
Lindsey, it's been so good to meet you. I'm very much looking forward to seeing your documentary as well. Thank you.